I think what's unique about what we're doing is it started with a cause, number one. Cheeky exists to help end hunger here in the United States, but ultimately globally. It started with a cause, and my partners and I went after product categories that tied nicely with the cause, but also had the scale to really make a big impact in the short and medium term. So we took our industry relationships, our expertise, and we partnered with arguably one of the most progressive mass retailers in the world, that's Target, and we've created in a really short space of time a one-for-one model that has a huge impact. In just the first 13 weeks, we've been able to provide over 1 million meals for people that need them right here in America.
So we're a nonprofit based in Hong Kong that works with early-stage social ventures as well as early-stage philanthropists and impact investors. And I think what makes us unique is that we're teaching young people how to be that risk capital that's so needed, especially in the early stage space for social ventures. And in Asia, it's really non-existent at this point.
So Cotopaxi is an outdoor gear company where every piece of gear is designed and developed around a specific social cause. So we all know of the buy one, give one models where you buy a product and you give a similar product. But sometimes you want to know, like, hey, what was the impact, or where did it happen, or who did I help? And that's something that we're doing a little different, is that every single one of our products, you can actually read about it. If you buy the Kilimanjaro backpack, for instance, you can actually go look on our site, and along with the product features, it'll tell you the cause that you're supporting. So you'll see a little orphanage in Tanzania, and we have a tutor there that's helping those kids. And so really kind of allowing you to connect with the exact cause that you're supporting.
Yes, right last night we launched EBW2020.com. So our initiative to empower 1 billion women by 2020. This is a dream that brought me to Dell 4 years ago, where I had the honor of serving as its first entrepreneur in residence. And we reached 600 million people towards our goal to empower 1 billion women by last year. So that was pretty exciting. And what we are, thank you.
Big round of applause, yay!
Woo! And everybody's like, we just haven't had enough coffee yet. I know it's the afternoon. What we do unique is this. Number one, the only way that we're going to reach 1 billion women by 2020 is by bridging corporations with the products, services, and solutions that enable women to grow and thrive successfully and get them into the hands of women worldwide. Our goal is to get $10 billion worth of those solutions into their hands by 2020 to enable women to create $100 billion worth of market impact. The second thing we do, we launched it last night, is we built out the first mentoring match platform. So women can go, and actually guys too, but it's targeted to women, can go and sign up for their mentors. And then number three, I think probably similar to everybody else doing really great stuff, is we just have an extraordinary team. And a number of them are here, and I'm really happy about that, so thank you.
I started Cotopaxi about a year ago. So I was living in Brazil. I moved back to the United States to start this business. And I incorporated as a benefit corporation from day one. And a lot of people, including some investors and some lawyers, kind of told me, hey, don't do that because no VC is going to want to invest in a benefit corporation. Well, I can tell you that's not true. We ended up raising last year $3 million to kick off the business. And then this week we just closed $6.5 million additional dollars. So almost $10 million of VC money as a benefit corporation. So just so everyone knows, a benefit corporation is similar to an S Corp or a C Corp. It's a for-profit entity, but you, in your articles of incorporation, you actually make a commitment to have a positive impact either for people or planet. And so you're held accountable to that, just like you would be to your shareholders, to maximize shareholder value. So now my goal as a business is not just to make money for my investors, it's actually to have that impact, that social impact that we committed to doing. So there's no tax benefits, it's not a nonprofit. We operate just like a for-profit, but we can use our profits or our money to do good as well.
Absolutely, they got it. Not only did they get it, but they were very motivated to have us sign Cheeky as an exclusive target brand for the foreseeable future. The reason for that is they identify the importance of the millennial, the Gen Z consumer that really these social cause brands resonate with. And they're seeing this tactically and strategically over the course of the next 15 to 20 years as a big play. They want to use brands like Cheeky, like Ubi, like Tom's for Target. They want to use these brands as major differentiators in the marketplace So it wasn't hard at all. In fact, quite the contrary. This was a big motivating driving force behind the partnership.
We work with organizations that are both for-profit and non-profit, and for us, that's just a function of legal structure. We want the organizations that we support to be really driven by their revenue model. So whatever social issue you're trying to address, whether it's lack of access to technology and education in rural areas, or is it related to environmental conservation, how do you run yourself like a business, and hence what kind of financing is appropriate. So for us, we've worked with a range of organizations from nonprofits to hybrids to for-profits, and as an organization we can fund with grants, debt, and equity as well.
The key question is really, what are you trying to do? There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who they are trying to build a lifelong lifestyle business that really gives back to their community. They certainly want to generate a decent income for themselves, but the idea of having sort of this profit maximization for shareholders really isn't what drives them. It's how can we use our profitability to pour it all back into the company. If that's your primary motivation, then a nonprofit is probably for you. If, on the other hand, you are, let's say, a technology entrepreneur who's really trying to create a global transformation, create something that's going to create impact, but then potentially sell it off to a Dell of the world and go on and do your next venture, you're very much focused on profitability from a shareholder standpoint. And so that's where then, if that's what your key mindset is, then the path for you is most likely the for-profit path. There are lots of questions, but those are two sort of fundamental philosophical questions to ask that can kind of set you in one path or the other.
Trying to run a business is hard enough on its own, but trying to have that social impact, it takes a lot of guts and a lot of focus, and so it's something that we talk about as a team on a daily basis, because if you don't, it's easy to forget because you're so focused on making the business work. Right now, we're actually hiring a chief impact officer, so a C-level executive that will be joining our team, which will help us do that better. And so it's something that's, balancing those two as a for-profit business that's trying to do good in the world, it's really hard. I'm sure DJ has some experience doing this, but yeah, I think you need someone in your team that owns it, because if you don't, it kind of falls by the wayside. So,
well, there's a couple of things that I'd mention today in that regard. There's Cheeky's in a commodity category. We're disrupting a really terrible category that's awful and completely devoid of fashion with cool innovation and prints and fashion and designer collaborations, but ultimately it's still a commodity category. And in order for Cheeky to have optimal impact, we had to retain a very competitive retail price point. There's probably 5 manufacturers of paper plates and plastic cups in this world. And as you might imagine, they're multi-billion-dollar corporations that weren't going to be all that keen about Cheeky coming along on the scene. So oddly enough, here we are 6 months later, and 2 of those multi-billion-dollar corporations are actually supplying us. That was a huge challenge to break into the business and to maintain a competitive price point. I'll tell you the other thing that's a big challenge for us, though, candidly, is our cause. We were motivated to start this because of a friend of mine in Santa Barbara who kind of talked very passionately, and has done for decades, about hunger here in America. One of the biggest challenges, candidly, we face is the fact that hunger just isn't a sexy enough cause anymore. This is something I'm really passionate about, something the team's really passionate about. And yes, you'll meet tons of people that are aware of some of these statistics, but to think that 1 in 6 Americans today is struggling with hunger is just asinine. And it's wild because there are so many people doing such great things. I fear not to mention this. I don't want to defame what they're doing. It's just that this cause is not as hip or as trendy as some others right now. So that's been our biggest challenge, getting people to seriously think about hunger, because the statistics haven't changed that much. It's been 1 in 6 Americans. It's been 49 million for decades now. So that's kind of, oddly enough, one of our biggest challenges.
I think the idea of providing specific tailored support for nonprofit and for-profit social ventures, even just working with social venture models in Asia, is actually quite new. In Asia, philanthropy is quite traditional. They fund schools and universities and hospitals and education programs, but really working outside of even the traditional infrastructure space to go to support nonprofits and then again to social businesses, that's quite a stretch. So when you're trying to do something different, it takes a long time to educate people about the value of that and actually how to do it as well. So people are very comfortable with giving grants to universities, but much less comfortable thinking of themselves as loan guarantors or providing equity investments into social businesses. So it does take some time, and that's why we work with the younger generation, because we think that that's something that they really understand and are actually looking for these new models of funding and social change as well.
Because there's all kinds of exciting trends happening in technology that I love to follow, but where I'll build off of what we talked about right here is that when you were talking about the B Corporation, I was just listening to my friend John Mackey, who started Whole Foods the other night, and he has that whole movement, conscious capitalism. And there really is a very distinct move in the market right now where investors that have typically been known as sort of the for-profit only guys or girls really are looking for the why behind what it is that they're doing. So the secret to securing investment from folks like this is certainly coming in very clearly with what is your why? You know, why do you exist to empower 1 billion women? What does this mean? Why should we care? But then back it up very, very quickly with the really solid financial model behind that. Because when you look at Hunger Issue as an example, there's a lot of money to be made in there for Cheeky. You know, and when you present that information to these investors out there, I mean, that's really where we're seeing a lot of the trends again. And I think often why you'll see a lot of entrepreneurs that have been very successful in the for-profit tech world, for example, go out and start these very socially conscious but financially lucrative models.
Our brand, you know, we're an outdoor gear brand. There's 1,000 other outdoor gear brands, and you know, it's a very saturated space. And so for us, we knew if we were going to build a brand, we had to build it not just on product, but through experiences. And so the day of our launch, we put together an event called the Questival. And it was a 24-hour outdoor adventure race. You can kind of think of like The Amazing Race, the TV show, all like an entire episode put into like 24 hours. So teams would form of up to 6 people, and we give them a list of 300 different challenges. They'd have to make their own shelter and sleep in it, or take a selfie with a llama, or spend an hour working at a soup kitchen. And then we gave away prizes. We gave away humanitarian trips around the world to the winning team. So we ended up having 1,400 racers that paid for the event, and 30,000 social media posts that had a reach of millions of people within the first 24 hours of our brand launch. So now we've done a few Questivals around the country, and we have a lot more planned. So.
Well, I think you have to know your product category. With Cheeky, our greatest audience is the consumers shopping the 2,000 Target stores that we're in, and we weren't from the get-go, I mean, don't forget, we've only been around for 15 weeks, but we weren't from the get-go going to be a brand with any awareness, candidly. So we had to penetrate the home somehow. And so we used awesome design, great aggressive price points in store, because it's an impulse category. If we could be more appealing than a Dixie plate or a Solo Dart plate or a Hefty plate, it's not that hard, but if we could be more appealing than those brands, then we could penetrate the home, and the secondary education happened in the home, whether it was an insert into the packaging or tying people back to the social campaign, which has been incredibly aggressive thus far. That's how we've brought 50,000 new shoppers into the grocery department, and now the fun starts, because now we're starting to build a really loyal fan base. It's amazing. Once people learn about the cause component of the brand, you have them, and it's absolutely incredible. And it's amazing that no one else had thought about this in this category yet.
Is it a cheeky fan base?
It's so cheeky.